At the beginning of 2014, the game launch lineup for this year has been looking very disappointing. 2014's lineup of games seems very boring and disappointing, to me at least. The only game I was really excited for until I heard about Titanfall was Dark Souls 2.
So yeah, I'm about to eat those words. Might as well get started. Oh, they taste of ignorance. Oh. As you guys saw in one of my previous videos concerning Titanfall and other games coming out in 2014, I was unaware of the several awesome new video games coming out this year. I feel almost ashamed to not have known about these upcoming spectacular looking games. I have this sort of sixth sense where I know a good game when I see one. Also, I'm Canadian, so it's very hard to make me dislike anything. Anyways, these are a few upcoming games in 2014 that I am really excited for, that I know are going to be good games, and I will definitely be spending my money on them. So, sit back, relax, and let's get excited for the year of 2014 in video games. This looks to be a very, very good year. So, let's start off with the only game that I knew was coming out in 2014 at first. Dark Souls 2.
Your wings will burn in anguish, time after time. For that is your fate. The fate of the cursed.
Now, I am a big fan of the first Dark Souls on PC, and while I will admit, it is a less than average port. They could have done a lot better with the PC port. The game is so good, a testament to how good it is, that even having a bad PC port, Dark Souls was still a spectacular dark fantasy action RPG. I loved exploring this dark and colorful world. I loved fighting these dangerous and creepy and cool enemies. I love the different armor sets that you could collect. And these armor sets actually took effort to collect and gather them all and create a full set. Yeah, there was a very decent amount of character customization through leveling up, selecting armors, designing your face, choosing your weapons. And let's not forget the main reason Dark Souls is remembered, besides difficulty, the amazing boss battles. Dark Souls is like one of the games for boss battles. My third favorite boss battle of all time, Artorias of the Abyss, Artorias, is in Dark Souls, and there are so many other bosses I felt bad for not including them in my top 10 video game bosses list. I could make an entire list of the top 10 or top number of how many ever bosses there are in Dark Souls, because they're all so good. Such great boss battles, creative design, fun action, they're challenging, they're creative. The boss battles in Dark Souls are spectacular. And Dark Souls 2 looks to be a better game, with an improved combat system, much better graphics, a more focus on the PC port, much better focus. Even the developers admitted that their PC port was half-assed and are going to improve it. This game looks beautiful with its new graphics engine. It looks to be a great game full of darkness, exploration, challenge, as we all know that's what Dark Souls is known for, and even more spectacular boss battles. I am very excited for the epic sequel to this dark fantasy RPG. Dark Souls 2 looks to be a great challenge, a lot of fun, and I'm really excited for it. I am really excited for the sequel to Dark Souls. Dark Souls 2 is a game to look out for. Also, another reason I'm really excited for it, dragons. If you guys don't know already, I f***ing love dragons. And there are going to be a lot of dragons in Dark Souls 2. Dragons. Oh, wait, you know what? Speaking of dragons. 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 Alright, this is getting creepy. But speaking of dragons, Dragon Age Inquisition.
Will you stand against it? Or lead this world to its bitter end?
The third game in the Dragon Age trilogy is almost here, and it looks spectacular. Another dark fantasy RPG to look forward to. Probably won't be as challenging as Dark Souls, but will offer a different level of entertainment. Now, before I continue, I must admit something. I don't like Dragon Age Origins, and I haven't played Dragon Age 2. Although I hear Okay, let's all admit, we all know Dragon Age Origins is critically acclaimed. It's one of the best dark fantasy RPGs of all time, but I don't like it. The characters and story are amazing, but I despise the combat system. It is so boring, so unimmersive. I couldn't get into the combat. The combat in Dragon Age Origins ruined the game for me. I wanted to keep going because of the story and characters, but the combat, after a while, I just went, no, I'm not having fun. As good as the story is, if I'm not having fun with a game, what's the point of playing it? Dragon Age Inquisition looks to have finally fixed my problem by having a combat system much more in the style of Dark Souls and Skyrim. This is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Immersive combat that responds to my actions. I am actually involved and not watching the battles play out on their own. I am in the action. When I click my mouse button, I swing my sword. Which is exactly what I have wanted out of the Dragon Age games. But that's not the only reason I'm excited for this up-and-coming sequel. BioWare have finally let go of the Unreal Free engine. Although they have been able to make some incredible looking games with the Unreal Free engine, the Mass Effect games, for example, Mass Effect 2 and 3 looking beautiful games, they have now adopted the Frostbite 2 engine, the same graphics engine made to use the current Battlefield games, Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. And while I dislike both those games, I will not deny the graphical fidelity and the graphical beauty of those games. And now that the BioWare has their hands on the Frostbite engine, they look to make an absolutely gorgeous fantasy RPG with fantastic lighting and colorful textures. And of course, what BioWare are most known for, their epic stories and memorable characters, and it looks like Dragon Age Inquisition will absolutely have that. Dragon Age Inquisition has everything I've wanted for the series. Better graphics, epic story, and a refined combat system. This looks to be the first Dragon Age game that I play through till the end. I am very excited for another dark fantasy RPG like Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm very excited for this one, and I hope it lives up to my expectations. Even if it doesn't, it still looks to be a pretty damn good game. Also, dragons. Dragons. Dragons! Now, since we're talking about dark fantasy sequels, Castlevania, Lords of Shadow 2.
For I am the dragon, Dracul. I am the Prince of Darkness. That is my vengeance. All shall come to fear me.
The first Castlevania Lords of Shadow is an amazing game. It has great combat, it has beautiful visuals, very decent platforming. It's a really, really great game, Lords of Shadow. And Lords of Shadow 2 looks to up the ante definitely, with a new improved combat system. Even more beautiful graphics. I didn't think you could get more beautiful than Lords of Shadow, but Lords of Shadow 2 looks to be a beautiful game. With even more spectacular boss battles, with even more spectacular environments to explore, with even more decent platforming to take part in, as well as tell a far more darker and interesting story. And how many video game franchises you know that have their epic conclusion on the second game in the series? So many other games go for a trilogy just for the sake of squeezing the cash cow. Not Castlevania, it's having its epic grand conclusion on its second game, and it looks to improve in every way, shape, and form from the first. The first Castlevania had great graphics, great gameplay, great boss battles. I loved the boss battle from Lords of Shadow. The only thing I found Lords of Shadow lacking in was a good story. The story was decent, but it could have been so much better. It was epic, but not as epic in depth and complexity as I would like it to be. And memorable characters. While the bosses themselves were memorable, the actual cast of characters, although having great voice acting, just didn't stand out as much as other video game characters. But Lords of Shadow 2, mind you, looks to fix that. It looks to make this a far more emotional and dark story, again with spectacular voice acting. Lords of Shadow 2 is a game I am most certainly looking forward to. Another great sequel coming out this year. And another epic dark fantasy RPG coming out. Hell yeah! More hack and slash, please. Where are you going, fantasy genre? We're not quite done with you yet. Yes, we have 2 sequels to some very well-known dark fantasy RPGs coming out, Dragon Age and Dark Souls. But what about a few newcomers to the dark fantasy RPG genre? We have 2 new IPs coming out this year, both of which look awesome. Let's start with Bound by Flame. Bound by Flame, a new dark fantasy hack-and-slash RPG coming out this year. A new IP, finally, and maybe this one will do well. Hopefully. Unfortunately, new IPs in the dark fantasy genre haven't always had the greatest of successes. Usually people stick to their guns with what's critically acclaimed and what's popular, usually leaving new IPs alone out of fright that they might be bad. But please, people, give this new game a chance. Bound by Flame looks to have everything you want from a dark fantasy RPG with hack-and-slash elements. A dynamic combat system with multiple choices in how you engage your enemies. Customization and crafting of weapons and armor, allowing you to customize your character. An epic story, along with companion characters with their own side stories. As you can tell, Bound by Flames looks to be taking elements from the best dark fantasies. Taking elements from Dragon Age, Dark Souls. It looks like... Oh, and even Skyrim, of course Skyrim. It's obviously taking some elements from Skyrim. It looks like it's going to be a good game. It looks like it's taking all the right elements from several other games, not ripping them off, doing their own thing with these elements, and making a good, brand new dark fantasy hack and slash. I am excited for Bound by Flames. It looks to be a good game, a new IP, a new fantasy world to explore. I cannot wait.
Good luck on your quest in Vatia, and keep tuned for the upcoming video that will describe the dynamic combat system of the game in more detail.
Now, the second new dark fantasy RPG coming out later this year is another new IP. Another one which looks very promising, as we've had a trailer and a full gameplay video showing off pre-alpha footage. And that is Lords of the Fallen.
I see you've heard me.
Lords of the Fallen looks to be a good game. It takes several elements from, well, Dark Souls, which is a good sign. If you're going to be inspired by something, be inspired by the best. The game looks to tell another dark, epic tale, along with some beautiful graphics, and from what we've seen of the gameplay so far, a very decent and enjoyable combat system. Now, I'm sure you guys have realized by now that I'm a sucker for good combat, and combat that lets me feel I'm in control. I can block, I can hack and slash, I can roll, I can dodge, all that good stuff. Yes, it's typical and we've all done it before, but every game has its own flair, its own style to the hack and slash gameplay, and Lords of the Fallen looks to be another game that handles it well, and I will have a good time with it. Looks like a game I could spend a good amount of time hacking and slashing at demons. Also, the boss battles, as we were able to see a single boss battle in the gameplay footage, the pre-alpha gameplay footage, the boss battles look to be dynamic, fun, challenging, and have awesome design. So yeah, I wasn't really excited for Lords of the Fallen. Now I am. Another new dark fantasy IP coming out. I can't wait.
Thanks a lot, guys. That's the first gameplay from Lords of the Fallen, and of course, there's way more to come, so keep your eyes on our website and fun page. We want to make sure you know everything you wish about our game before it gets to your PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC.
Alrighty then, we've talked a lot of dark fantasy. And I'm really glad that 2014 is a year that's stepping up the dark fantasy genre, because we don't have a lot of AAA dark fantasy games, and that's a damn shame. Who doesn't want to see wizards and dragons, and if you guys haven't realized already, I have an unhealthy obsession with dragons. Because they're just so fucking cool. But yeah, dark fantasy is lacking in the AAA big budget department. We don't have enough of them. There are too many budget dark fantasies that are crap or average, and there are too many handheld RPG fantasy games. We need more of the big stuff. We need more AAA style games as Bound by Flames, Lords of the Fallen, Dark Souls 2, Dragon Age Inquisition. All these games, all these dark fantasy RPGs are bringing to the table to give us that dark fantasy craving that we all have. But now, let's move away from that, and let's go to another genre that has been booming with success the past few years. The horror genre. The survival horror genre. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Amnesia. I'm talking about Slender. I'm talking about Outlast. I'm talking about these horror games that have come out of nowhere and dominated YouTube, giving us some of the most girly screams and greatest scares. And now a new game, a new survival horror is on the horizon. But not any survival horror, it's a survival horror being made by the master, the original creator of the first Resident Evil. Well, I myself do not find Resident Evil scary in any way. I do have respect for this developer, as he knows what he's doing. He basically invented the survival horror video game genre, and now he's putting all of his skills to the test in this upcoming survival horror masterpiece. The Evil Within. From all the gameplay and trailers that we have seen from The Evil Within so far, it seems, well, in my personal opinion, it seems like a more horror-focused Dead Space. I love the Dead Space franchise for balancing horror and action, and I find it balances them in a perfect way. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I love the Dead Space franchise for being able to balance horror and action. The Evil Within looks to be more horror than any action at all. It looks to be a pure survival horror game like Outlast, like Slender, like Amnesia, focusing on psychological and visual horror, showing blood, guts, but also leaving you in the dark, having shadows move around, and just keeping you on edge the whole time. This is the master of horror we're talking about here, the original creator of Resident Evil. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, and I have complete faith that this new survival horror game, The Evil Within, is going to be... it's going to be the bane of my nightmares, and it's going to be looking like a horrific good time. If you enjoy a good scare, a good horror game, The Evil Within looks to be a great contender for survival horror of the year. Outlast, Amnesia, Slender, look out. Alrighty, we've talked about a lot of single-player games, dark fantasy, horror. What about all us multiplayer folks who like to beat the crap out of other people online? Well, don't you worry. I think we got you covered. Do you like sci-fi multiplayer? Do you like giant robots, giant aliens, creative worlds, fun, destructive sci-fi weaponry? Well, 2 brand new sci-fi multiplayer games are coming out this year, and they look to replace Call of Duty and Left 4 Dead, because they're being made by their original creators. I'm talking Titanfall and Evolve!
Stand by for Titanfall.
Rated M for mature. Titanfall, only on Xbox and PC.
I'm about to see your light. But if you wanna find hell with me, I'm gonna show you what it's like. Not about to see your light. But if you wanna find hell with me, I'm gonna show you what it's like. See your
First, Titanfall. If you watched my previous video, you know I am really excited for Titanfall. And if you watched my previous video, you know that I played the Titanfall beta from its release date to its end date, non-stop. I played over 30 hours of the Titanfall beta. That's how good it was. And it's coming, this game is coming out March 11th, Titanfall. I don't really have much else to say. Titanfall, from what I've played, is going to be an amazing sci-fi multiplayer experience. Yes, there are some issues that people have, but I don't have a problem, such as the smart pistol, the AI bots. I don't have a problem with either of them. I thoroughly enjoy the game. I love playing as a pilot. I love running around, jumping around on my jetpack. I love being a Titan, crushing players, shooting up the place, and getting on Titan matches. And this was all from the beta. I played on 2 maps with a few limited guns and abilities, and I love the game. So, I'm going to be clocking in probably hundreds of hours into the full game of Titanfall. Is it going to be a COD killer? No, it's going to be a COD ass kicker. Being made by the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare developers and using the Valve Source engine. Having spectacular sci-fi action, a balanced, incredibly balanced multiplayer, Titanfall looks to be the new multiplayer game to look for if you're into arcade Twitch shooters. Titanfall, man. Yep, it's definitely going to be a titan of a game. Now, Evolve. Being made by the creators of Left 4 Dead, the developers of Left 4 Dead, one of the greatest co-op PC and Xbox shooters ever. It is the game for co-op gameplay and fun It's a creative, fun multiplayer game. Everybody owns Left 4 Dead. Everybody knows and loves Left 4 Dead. There are very few people who dislike it, and I never hear a bad thing about Left 4 Dead because it's so much fun. And now, the creators of Left 4 Dead are moving away from zombies and going to butt-ugly aliens. Evolve looks to be a completely awesome and unique multiplayer co-op experience, just as Left 4 Dead was, where 4 players take the place of hunters, and 1 player takes the role of an alien predator. While these 4 unique hunters have a variety of abilities and weapons to help them hunt down their prey, the predator himself can evolve into stronger and more nastier versions of himself, making the battle a fight to see who can kill who first. Can the hunters reach the alien predator before he evolves into his final unstoppable form and starts tearing them apart and destroying their base? Or can the hunters get the drop on the predator and ambush him and take him down in a decisive operation focusing on teamwork, while the predator focuses on stealth and guerrilla tactics to take out his enemies? This game looks awesome, with beautiful visuals, a unique sci-fi setting, a unique game premise, and creative creatures. This looks to be another spectacular sci-fi multiplayer game that may be the new Left 4 Dead, as Titanfall may be the new Call of Duty. It looks to be a great, very interesting, original, fun multiplayer game. I am definitely looking forward to Evolve and can't wait to play it. I am totally gonna be the alien. Hunters beware. Now that looks like some pretty epic sci-fi first-person shooter multiplayer games coming out this year. But what about sci-fi first-person single player? Well, we got you covered in a new sequel/remake of Wolfenstein.
Let me tell you how this is gonna work. I'm gonna ask you one question. You are gonna answer that question in a way I find satisfactory, and if you do not, I will saw your head off with this here appliance, you hear me?
Zur Hölle mit dir, deinem verdammten Widerstand!
Boom, 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 boom. Ich schieß dich einfach ab.
I don't know about you, but I get a real Quentin Tarantino vibe from this. Wolfenstein: The New Order looks to be an action-packed, sci-fi, single-player, action-packed, first-person shooter. I enjoyed 2009's Wolfenstein and thought it was a great first-person shooter. Who doesn't love shooting Nazis in a sci-fi fantasy world filled with demons and mutants? But now, Wolfenstein: The New Order looks to bring the crazy and the surreal to the audience. The game, from what we've seen, looks action-packed. It looks corny, cheesy, but dark and serious at times. It just looks to be a great game. It looks to be a great single-player, action-packed, first-person shooter experience. I am definitely excited. I wasn't excited before, but after the latest trailer of Wolfenstein, I am now excited for this game. Looks to be another great single-player, action-packed experience. Hey, there's nothing wrong with a little more of those, am I right? Alright, so we might as well finish up. Those are the new games coming out this year. The sequels and the new IPs, the dark fantasies, the horror, and the new sci-fi multiplayers. Those are the games I am excited for in 2014. And this gaming year, this year in video gaming looks to be amazing, spectacular, so much fun. But before I leave, there is one other sci-fi multiplayer co-op game that I need to talk about and address. And that is Warframe. Warframe has been in beta for over a year. If you don't know what Warframe is, it's a sci-fi co-op free-to-play multiplayer game. It's basically a free-to-play MMO, a free-to-play sci-fi MMO that takes elements from other co-op games. You play as space ninjas, and yeah, you play as space ninjas. That's pretty much all that needs to be said. Warframe is a spectacular game. It's free to play. It's such a fascinating sci-fi universe that Digital Extremes, the developer, is creating. And it has a fantastic, visceral combat system. It's some of the best third-person combat ever, with wall running, melee combat, special abilities. The game is so much fun. It's a fantastic sci-fi multiplayer co-op. Free to play. It's free to play. You don't need to spend a dime on Warframe. It's completely optional, and you don't feel forced to with Warframe. It's one of the best free-to-play games out there that's technically still not a game. Warframe has been in beta for over a year now, and this is just my personal opinion, and I really hope Warframe is finally gets its full game release. It leaves the beta stage and becomes a full release in 2014, because if it does, it will be one of the best games of 2014. I've been playing the beta for over a year, and I'm still not tired of Warframe because of how good an amazing sci-fi co-op game it is. You should check out Warframe. It's free to download. It's a lot of fun. It takes some getting used to, but once you get the swing of it, it's some of the most fun you will ever have in a video game. And I really, really hope that Warframe gets a full release in 2014, because I'm afraid that this beta stage, this endless beta stage that Warframe is going through, may kill the game. And I really don't want that to happen. So, Warframe, high hopes. It is finally released in 2014. So I can put it on my top 10 games of 2014 list. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So, those are the games I am excited for in 2014. The new IPs, the sequels, the sci-fi multiplayers, the dark fantasy single players, and the new horror survival. 2014 looks to be a phenomenal year for video gaming. It looks to have some fantastic new releases, something that will keep us glued to our consoles and our PCs. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and are ready for a new year of awesome gaming. So, I'll see you guys in the next video.